I was that hard-working guy who thought he found true love with Sophia. After dating for 2 years, I planned an extravagant birthday dinner for her, sparing no expense on the venue, food, and drinks. With an engagement ring in my pocket, I was ready to take our relationship to the next level. Little did I know, stepping out to grab my jacket would change everything. Before I tell you what happened next, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from. And hit that subscribe button if you have ever had your trust completely shattered. I have always been someone who worked hard for everything in my life. As a 30-year-old software engineer from a modest family in Minnesota, nothing was ever handed to me on a silver platter. My parents taught me the value of honest work, saving money, and treating people with respect. These principles guided me through college, my early career, and eventually into what I thought was a loving relationship with Sophia. We met at a local coffee shop near my office. It was one of those movie scene moments that makes you believe in fate. She was struggling with a stack of marketing textbooks when they slipped from her hands. I rushed over to help. Our eyes met, and there was this instant spark. Sophia had this captivating smile that lit up her whole face, deep brown eyes that seemed to look right through you, and a confident personality that drew me in immediately. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant downtown. We talked for hours about our dreams, families, and favorite travel destinations. Sophia wanted to visit Paris, and I promised someday we would go together. The connection felt real and deep. 2 years flew by with weekend getaways to the coast, holiday gatherings with our families, inside jokes that made us laugh until our sides hurt, and countless nights talking about our future together. By all appearances, we were the perfect couple. My friends envied our relationship, and her parents welcomed me like a son. We had discussed marriage in abstract terms, and I felt confident that Sophia was the one I wanted to spend my life with. That is why I decided her 28th birthday would be the perfect occasion to propose. The planning process was extensive and expensive. I saved for 4 months to afford the dinner at Le Chien, the most upscale French restaurant in the city, and her absolute favorite. The private dining room alone cost $300 to reserve. I coordinated with her closest friends and family members to ensure all 10 guests could attend without spoiling the surprise. The guest list included her parents, her sister Jenna, and her 5 closest friends, Tracy, Amanda, Kimberly, Lily, and Rachel. Her cousin Marcus came too, who Sophia had grown up with and considered like a brother. The engagement ring was a significant investment. I spent 3 months of my salary on a princess-cut diamond with a white gold band. The jeweler assured me it was the kind of ring that would take her breath away. I carried it in my jacket pocket all evening, periodically touching it for reassurance. When the night finally arrived, everything seemed perfect. Le Chien had a sophisticated ambiance, with soft lighting, elegant furnishings, and impeccable service. The private dining room I reserved was tastefully decorated with subtle birthday touches and fragrant flowers. Sophia looked stunning in a fitted black dress and the sapphire earrings I had given her for Christmas. Throughout dinner, she was affectionate, kissing my cheek and holding my hand under the table. Her friends kept giving me approving looks, and I felt confident about my plan to propose during dessert. The 5-course meal was exquisite, featuring French delicacies and expensive champagne. Everyone seemed to be having a wonderful time, especially Sophia, who was glowing with happiness, or so I thought. After the main course, I excused myself to visit the restroom and retrieve my jacket from the coat room. The engagement ring was in the inside pocket, and I wanted to be prepared for the big moment. The private dining area had several adjoining smaller rooms, and as I walked down the hallway, I noticed one door slightly ajar with familiar voices coming from inside. I recognized Sophia immediately, along with the distinct laughs of Amanda and Tracy. I was about to knock and say hello when I heard my name. Curiosity made me pause. That pause changed my life forever. "What if he proposes tonight?" Amanda asked, a hint of mischief in her voice. There was a moment of silence before Sophia responded with a laugh that sent chills down my spine. It was not her warm laugh that I loved. This laugh was cold, mocking, and cruel. "Then I will let him get on his knees, look pathetic, and I will brutally dump him right there. He deserves it for thinking he is even in my league." My heart stopped. The world seemed to freeze around me. You have to record it. Amanda giggled. Already told my cousin Marcus to film the whole thing, Sophia replied confidently. I stood there paralyzed as they continued their conversation, unaware of my presence. How long are you going to keep stringing Junior along? Tracy asked. Just until Derek is ready to commit, Sophia replied casually, as if discussing the weather rather than my life. Junior is stable and pays for everything. You saw this dinner he put together. The man spends money like water when it comes to me, but he is so average. Kimberly chimed in. Like, does he really think someone who looks like you would marry someone who looks like him? Right, Sophia agreed. My parents love him, though. They keep saying he is such a nice guy with good values, as if that matters compared to success and looks. Well, Derek has both, Amanda noted. When are you seeing him next? Tomorrow afternoon, Sophia replied. Junior thinks I have a work lunch. They all laughed again, and I felt physically ill. Every word was like a knife to my chest. 2 years of what I thought was love was apparently nothing but a calculated charade. I was just a wallet and a placeholder until someone better came along. Marcus spoke up. So when he proposes, you will say no, and I will get it all on video. Exactly, Sophia confirmed. It will be hilarious. We can watch it at our next girls' night. I stood there for what felt like an eternity but was probably only seconds. My stomach dropped to my feet. My heart raced painfully and I could feel cold sweat forming on my brow. The ring box in my pocket now felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. In that hallway outside the room where my entire relationship was being exposed as a lie, I experienced emotions I never knew existed. The initial shock quickly gave way to a sickening wave of hurt that washed over me. My throat tightened and breathing became difficult as my mind raced through a highlight reel of our relationship now tainted by this new perspective. All those times she seemed distracted on her phone, those unexplained work emergencies, her constant comparison of me to her more successful friends. It all suddenly made sense. The red flags had been waving frantically, but I had been colorblind to them, seeing only what I wanted to see through rose-colored glasses of love. My first instinct was to burst into that room, confronting Sophia and her friends with their cruelty. I wanted to yell, to make a scene, to let everyone know what kind of person she truly was. My hands trembled with a mixture of rage and humiliation. But something stopped me. A strange sense of calm slowly replaced the initial shock. If I confronted them now, Sophia would know I discovered her plan. She would pivot, create excuses, maybe even try to gaslight me into believing I misunderstood. Most importantly, she would still have power over the situation and over my emotions. In that moment of clarity, I decided I would not give her that satisfaction. Taking several deep breaths, I straightened my tie and composed myself. A plan was already forming in my mind, one that would require patience and composure. I quietly retreated from the door, retrieved my jacket from the coat room, and checked that the ring was secure in my pocket. It would not be used tonight, but it would serve another purpose. When I returned to the dining room, I wore a smile that betrayed nothing of what I had just learned. Sophia looked up at me with that beautiful face I once thought was sincere. Now, I could see the calculation behind her eyes, the slight impatience as she wondered when I would make my move so she could execute her humiliation plan. Everything okay, babe? You were gone a while. She asked, her hand sliding over mine with practiced affection. Perfect, I replied, squeezing her hand gently. Just chatting with one of the servers about the special dessert I ordered for you. Her eyes lit up at that. The dessert was meant to be the proposal moment, and she thought her opportunity was coming. I noticed Marcus subtly adjusting his position, his phone partially concealed, but clearly ready to record. Amanda caught my eye and gave me what I now recognized as a knowing smile. Not of happiness for our relationship milestone, but of anticipated entertainment at my expense. The dessert service arrived with appropriate fanfare. The restaurant staff brought out an elaborate chocolate cake with "Happy Birthday, Sophia" written in elegant script. Candles flickered in the dimmed light as everyone sang. I had originally planned to propose after the cake cutting, getting down on one knee in front of everyone. The staff knew about this plan, but I had managed to catch the head server and quietly cancel that portion of the evening. As Sophia blew out her candles, I stood to give a toast. Everyone fell silent, expectation heavy in the air. Sophia's face held a strange mix of emotions: anticipation, a hint of cruelty around her eyes, and her phone conveniently placed to capture whatever would happen next. To Sophia, I began raising my champagne glass. 2 years ago, I met an incredible woman who changed my life. Tonight, on your birthday, surrounded by the people who matter most to you, I want to say. I paused, and I could see Sophia straighten up, preparing for her moment of planned cruelty. But instead of reaching for the ring, I simply finished. "Happy birthday. May this year bring you exactly what you deserve." The confusion on her face was subtle, but unmistakable. She had been preparing to reject a proposal that never came. Her friends exchanged glances, and Marcus looked uncertainly at his phone, wondering if he should still be recording. "That is it?" Sophia asked, attempting to sound casual but unable to hide her disappointment. "What else would there be?" I replied innocently, sitting back down and taking a bite of cake. "This is your special day, and I wanted it to be perfect." The rest of the evening continued, with an undercurrent of tension that only I understood. I paid the enormous bill without complaint, nearly $2,000 for the entire experience. I tipped the staff, generously drove Sophia home, and even gave her a goodnight kiss as if nothing had changed. "Thank you for a wonderful birthday," she said, searching my eyes for any hint that I knew her secret. "You are welcome," I replied simply. "Sleep well." Driving back to my apartment, I finally allowed the mask to slip. The pain crashed over me in waves, bringing tears that I had refused to shed in front of her. I slammed my hand against the steering wheel, angry not just at Sophia but at myself for being so blind. But beneath the pain, a determination was forming. I stayed up all night, moving through my apartment like a ghost, as I processed what had happened and formulated my response. This would not be about revenge. Revenge is emotional and messy. This would be about truth and consequences, executed with the same calculated precision that Sophia had applied to our relationship. By morning, I had not slept, but I had a clear plan. It was time to show Sophia exactly who she had underestimated. With the first light of dawn streaming through my windows, I showered and dressed with methodical care. The lack of sleep should have left me exhausted, but adrenaline and determination fueled me. Today would be about reclaiming my dignity and ensuring that the truth came to light. My first stop was the jewelry store where I had purchased the engagement ring. The older gentleman behind the counter remembered me, his face lighting up with anticipation of hearing about a successful proposal. "Back so soon, how did it go?" he asked cheerfully. "Plans changed," I replied simply. "I need to return this." His face fell, but to his credit he did not pry. The store had a 30-day return policy, and I received a full refund of $12,000. That money would now serve a different purpose. Back in my car, I began the evidence-gathering phase of my plan. Sophia and I had shared access to cloud storage, where we kept photos of our time together. I downloaded everything not just for sentimental reasons, but because hidden within those happy images were subtle clues to her duplicity. Photos where she looked distracted, text conversations captured in the background of images, and timestamps that contradicted stories she had told me about her whereabouts. Next, I reviewed our text message history. While Sophia had been careful, there were inconsistencies when compared with social media posts and location tags. Through mutual friends, I found several photos of Sophia at events she claimed were work-related, clearly enjoying herself with a tall, well-dressed man I now presumed was Derek. The most damning evidence came from my smartwatch. When I had stepped into the hallway at the restaurant, it had been recording my heart rate for fitness purposes, but it also captured audio. The conversation I overheard was now preserved digitally, Sophia's voice crystal clear as she mocked me and our relationship. By midday, I had compiled everything into a comprehensive digital package. It was not designed to be malicious, but rather a straightforward presentation of facts. I included financial records showing how much I had invested in our relationship, including the birthday dinner, various trips, and gifts. I was not looking for reimbursement, but I wanted the full picture to be clear. The next part was perhaps the most difficult. Sophia's parents had always been kind to me, and I respected them greatly. I called her father and asked if I could stop by to speak with both of them privately. They welcomed me warmly, offering coffee and homemade cookies that her mother insisted I try. "Is everything okay, son?" her father asked, noting my serious expression. Sophia said the birthday dinner was wonderful. "I need to share something difficult with you both." I began, my voice steady, despite the emotional weight. "Out of respect for you and the relationship we have built, I wanted you to hear this directly from me." I explained what I had overheard, showing them the evidence, including the audio recording. I did not embellish or editorialize, simply presented the truth as it was. The pain and disappointment on their faces mirrored what I had felt the night before. "We did not raise her to be this way," her mother said, quietly, tears streaming down her face. "I am so sorry, Junior. You have handled this with more dignity than most would," her father added, placing a supportive hand on my shoulder. "What will you do now?" "I am ending the relationship today," I replied. "I wanted you to know why." They both nodded, understanding, and not attempting to defend their daughter's actions. As I left, her father embraced me and said, "You would have made a wonderful addition to our family." The final confrontation awaited. I drove to Sophia's apartment, unannounced, knowing she would be home after her work lunch with Derek. When she opened the door, her face registered surprise, then happiness, perhaps thinking I had come to propose after all. "Junior, I was just thinking about you," she said, reaching for a hug. I stepped inside, but maintained my distance. "We need to talk, Sophia." Her expression shifted subtly, a wariness entering her eyes. "About what?" "About what I overheard in the private room next to our dinner last night," I said calmly. The color drained from her face. "What are you talking about?" "Please do not insult me further by lying." I replied, my voice steady. "I heard everything. About how you planned to humiliate me if I proposed. About Derek. About how you have been using me." "Junior, you misunderstood," she began frantically. "It was just girl talk, we were joking around." I played the audio recording. Her own voice filled the room, cold and cruel, leaving no room for denial. She sank onto her couch, her carefully constructed facade crumbling. "It is over, Sophia," I said simply. "I have already spoken with your parents." "You? What?" Her head snapped up, panic replacing the artificial remorse. "They deserve to know who their daughter really is," I replied. "Just as our friends deserve to know the truth about our relationship." I explained that I had compiled all the evidence and shared it with our close friends and family members. Not in a mass social media post that would publicly humiliate her, but in private messages to those who mattered. People who had invested time and emotions in supporting our relationship deserved honesty. "You cannot do this," she whispered. But we both knew it was already done. "I did not do anything, Sophia. You did this. I am just making sure the consequences match the actions." As I turned to leave, she grabbed my arm, suddenly desperate. "Please, Junior, I will explain to everyone it was a misunderstanding. We can fix this." I gently removed her hand. "There is nothing to fix. Goodbye, Sophia." Walking out of her apartment that day was one of the hardest things I had ever done. Despite everything, part of me still loved the person I thought she was. But that person had never existed. The wider repercussions were swift. By evening, Sophia's phone was reportedly exploding with messages from friends and family. Her carefully cultivated social image was crumbling as people learned about her true character. Her cousin Marcus faced backlash for his willingness to participate in my humiliation, and several of her friends distanced themselves, not wanting to be associated with such cruelty. I did not take pleasure in any of this. There was no satisfaction in watching someone's life unravel, even when they had planned to hurt me. But I did feel a sense of justice, and more importantly, a growing sense of relief. The truth had set me free from a relationship built on lies. That night I slept peacefully for the first time since the discovery. The pain was still there, but it was now accompanied by the knowledge that I had handled the situation with dignity and honesty. I had not lowered myself to her level by seeking revenge, but neither had I allowed myself to be a victim. As the first rays of morning light filtered through my blinds, I made a promise to myself. This experience would not make me bitter or distrustful. It would make me wiser, stronger, and more appreciative of genuine connections when they came along. The 3 days following our breakup brought a barrage of messages from Sophia and her friends. My phone buzzed constantly with texts and calls that I refused to answer. The desperation in their attempts to reach me was evident in the messages that piled up. "Please, she is begging to fix this," Amanda wrote, the same friend who had suggested recording my humiliation. "She has not eaten in 2 days. Just let her apologize." Tracy pleaded as if Sophia's physical well-being was now my responsibility. The most dramatic came from Kimberly. "Please, please do not ruin her life over one mistake." One mistake. As if systematically deceiving someone for 2 years, planning their public humiliation and cheating, could be condensed into a single moment of poor judgment. Their messages revealed more about their character than they realized, showing how little they understood the gravity of what Sophia had done. I maintained my no-contact policy, not out of cruelty but self-preservation. There was nothing Sophia could say that would undo the damage or rebuild trust. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for both parties is to maintain boundaries and allow space for healing. While Sophia's inner circle closed ranks around her, I received support from unexpected sources. Her parents, to their credit, did not defend their daughter's actions. They called once to check on me, her father expressing again how sorry he was and that he hoped this experience would be a wake-up call for Sophia. I assured him I held no ill will toward them. Colleagues and mutual friends who had received my evidence package approached me with a new respect. There were no awkward questions or pressure to reconcile. Instead, they offered quiet support through invitations to dinner messages, checking on my well-being, and in one case, a referral to a therapist who specialized in betrayal trauma. Most surprisingly, Lisa, one of Sophia's friends who had not been at the dinner, reached out to me privately. "I always knew something was off with how she treated you," she confessed. "The way you handled this whole situation shows incredible strength and dignity. Not many would have had the restraint you showed." Her words meant more than she knew. In the aftermath of betrayal, validation that you are not crazy, that your feelings are justified, can be incredibly healing. The process of moving forward began with small steps. I started therapy to process the betrayal and understand why I had missed so many red flags. My therapist helped me see that my capacity to trust was not a weakness but a strength, even if it had been taken advantage of in this case. I reconnected with friends I had somewhat neglected during my relationship with Sophia. Brandon and Tyler, my college roommates, drove 3 hours just to spend a weekend helping me rediscover old hobbies and interests. We went hiking, played basketball, and stayed up late talking about everything and nothing the way we used to before adult responsibilities took over. My focus shifted to self-improvement. I joined a new gym not just for physical health but for the mental clarity that came with physical exertion. I enrolled in advanced programming courses to further my career, and I volunteered at a local coding boot camp teaching basics to underserved youth. Giving back reminded me that my value was not determined by one person's perception. 2 months after the breakup, I moved to a new apartment in a different part of the city. The fresh start felt necessary. My new place was smaller but filled with natural light and located near a park. I spent weekends furnishing it with items that reflected my personality rather than compromising for someone else's taste. For the first time in years, my living space felt truly mine. 6 months passed. The acute pain had subsided, replaced by occasional melancholy that diminished with each passing week. I was having coffee at a local cafe when I saw her. Sophia was at a table across the room, alone scrolling through her phone. She looked different somehow, less polished, perhaps less confident. Our eyes met briefly. There was no dramatic confrontation, no heated exchange. I simply nodded in acknowledgement, finished my coffee, and left. The encounter that once would have shattered me now barely rippled the surface of my peace. That moment crystallized how far I had come. I no longer carried anger or resentment toward Sophia. What happened between us had shaped me, but it no longer defined me. The most powerful response to betrayal is not revenge or bitterness, but moving forward and creating a life so full and authentic that the betrayal becomes merely a chapter rather than the whole story. The lessons I learned through this experience run deeper than simply avoiding deceitful partners. I learned that self-respect must always precede relationship status, that love without honesty is merely performance, that responding to cruelty with dignity is not weakness but the ultimate strength, and perhaps most importantly that healing is a personal journey not dependent on apologies or validation from those who hurt you. Today, I am grateful for the relationship not working out. Had I not stepped into that hallway, had I not overheard that conversation, I might have married someone who saw me as nothing more than a stepping stone to something better. Instead, I am free to find a connection based on mutual respect, honesty, and genuine affection. If you have experienced betrayal or dishonesty in your relationships, remember that how you respond defines you more than how others treat you. Have you ever had to choose dignity over emotional reaction in a difficult situation? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences that might help you navigate your own challenges. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that healing is possible after betrayal. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, sometimes the relationships that do not work out are preparing you for the one that will.